Good morning. This is Eddie Moratin with Lift Orlando. Hoping that you and your family are healthy and safe. Delighted to take a moment to connect with you and introduce some of the partners doing great work in our community. It's time for celebrating good news, that's for sure. It's been over a month since we've been shuttered home and out of our offices, working remotely, but still actively seeking a million ways to close gaps and improve the lives of our neighbors in any way that we can. And around the country, we're hearing stories about how communities of color are often feeling the ravages of this virus more strongly than the rest of the nation. And I think it's important to see what's happening in our own backyard and be reminded of the good news of having caring and connected neighbors. And I've got two special guests this morning, folks that you know that are on the forefronts of things happening here in Central Florida. And to first talk about the broader picture in the heart of Orange County in 32805. What are some of the important notices and news that people need to be aware of? Let me introduce Phil Hissom, who many of you know in Westlakes. Polis Institute has been the partner of Lift Orlando since the very beginning, as we've worked to bring people together to close the gaps for children and families. Polis has provided both the savviness on the ground and the research and data to make wise decisions. Phil, thanks for taking the time to connect this morning.
Sure. Thanks, Eddie, and good to chat with you this morning. Polis Institute, that's like the Greek word for city. We're trying to be as helpful as we can across the region, and certainly Westlakes 3205 is an area where we've been, where we've officed and where we've been very involved for a number of years. So our heart is drawn there, and to the friends that we've made, and concerns are certainly up front with everybody right now. On the good news side, I mean, we have very active political leaders really out and about doing what they can to be of service and to get people health equipment and health messaging. They're partnering with businesses and organizations like Westlakes Partnership and the homeowner association and neighborhood association leaders. So that's very encouraging to see, because as has been pointed out, this is a community focused strategies are what works in viral epidemics. In other words, it's the way we talk about what's happening, it's the way we change our behaviors, and the way that we care for one another that really mitigates anything more than we can do otherwise. So community is what it's all about right now. And there's a strong community there, and so that bodes well for the future. On the challenging side, it's there's a lot of concerns, because the conditions that make one both right for the for health outcomes, negative health outcomes, and for a longer on-ramp to economic recovery are prevalent in 32805. And so what that means is just there's challenges, and resources need to be brought to bear to address those. So, there's 19 cases currently in 32805. That's documented. So what we know about that number is it's larger. And we don't know how much larger. And we know that every person is going to likely infect 3 others unless those strict safeguards are taken. And we also know that 32805 is predominantly African American, and there's a lot of jobs in that area that are vulnerable. And throughout the country, we're seeing that because of the coincidence of African Americans living in more distressed places, they're both concerns about health and about economic recovery are more acute in the community. So all that means is that the resiliency, the things that are embedded in the community leadership, the resourcefulness, and investments from partners are absolutely essential. But so is the messaging, encouraging everyone to get it where it's reliable, getting it from health departments, from the CDC, from the Florida Department of Health, from our healthcare organizations like Advent and Orlando Health. And Polis has put up a website to try to be a resource as well for some of that positive messaging, called centralfloridaunited.org. And that's also a place where some of our faith partners are putting are gathering volunteers to do some of that groundwork in terms of calling on neighbors, doing care calls, checking in with people that we have relationships with. How are you doing? Here's the messaging. Anything we can do to be of service. So there's a lot of resources, but a lot of challenges there. So it's time to come together, unite on the solution. So glad to be here with you all.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you sharing that information with us, sharing the link to Central Florida United. It's so important that we do have a unified understanding and message of what's happening and what people can do during a time like this. We're kind of in the middle of the crisis in so many ways, and so sticking to the best guidelines to save lives and protect each other is so important. I'm excited that Tim Ayers is with us with Westlake's Partnership, and one of the things that we're realizing, and I heard this several weeks ago and thought of you, Tim, was that what would make the difference in neighborhoods, in communities around the country, would not be the size of our healthcare institutions or the preparedness of our governments, but it's what happens in communities on the ground, how folks behave and interact and support each other during this time. And it's been really inspiring to see what's been happening in Westlake. You've been at the forefront of this, Tim. Let us know, tell us what's been going on in Westlake's Partnership.
Well, thank you, Eddie and Phil, for organizing this call this morning. As the two of you know, Westlake's Partnership's credo is about engage, strengthen, and protect residents and businesses in the Westlakes community. How we did that, our board, or my board, instructed me to be intentional about making sure authentically engaged on the front line of helping their neighbors in the community. And we did so by increasing the flow of information to residents across all of our platform. We increased information threefold in terms of getting out the information residents desire. We wanted also to protect the vulnerable. How did we do that? By an online survey we undertook, about 20% of the households in our community responded to that survey and identified food insecurity as one of those, as one of the top two items that we needed to address. And so this Saturday, April 25th, we're going to do a drive-through food drop for about 500 households in Westlakes and some businesses that we have reached out to help feed some of their employees. And then hopefully that need will be met. The food that we will give out will last those households about a week. We've also been in touch with about 300 businesses in the Westlakes community to keep them abreast of some of the city's resources as we undertake a proposal before the city in terms of a Main Street district. Those businesses have been highly supportive in terms of their response back to us and appreciative of what we have provided them. So we continue to do that. And so I just want to end this message on a cautionary note to our residents and businesses: be safe, wear a mask, be precautious, and out there as we deal with this crisis throughout not only Orlando, Westlakes, but the country as well.
Thank you so much, Tim. You know, I've been really grateful for the way the community as a whole has really taken the seriousness of this matter and trying to protect people, from our government leaders making swift decisions to our healthcare institutions, our elected officials here, our HOAs. I just see neighbors delivering care packages to the elderly and doing so many great things. But it's been really encouraging to see the leadership of your volunteer board, resident leaders, and yourself engaging to meet the needs of folks right where they're at right now. I was reminded of the Chicago blackout where they saw many deaths because of that. But the difference between identical neighborhoods and survival rates was how well neighbors knew each other, how connected they were to one another. And I think that's why it's so important to do this work, to see not only during the crisis how working together and coming together is vital, but it's the foundation on which we build bright futures together. On our front, for all of the long-term initiatives that we've been working on at Lift Orlando, folks can see around Orange Center Boulevard. Cautiously, construction crews are moving forward with the building of the Boys and Girls Club. Excitedly, the Early Learning Center has opened up to start supporting essential workers and their families, and we're cautiously moving towards making sure that we're providing the safe and quality housing to the elderly. But in this time, the most important thing is to make sure that we are looking out for each other. Even though we're physically distancing, we shouldn't be socially distant. We should find ways to stay communicating and connecting and making sure that we're safe. I just want to close by saying, if you are in Westlake, in 32805, and you are an essential worker, you're working on the front lines of healthcare or food or services, and you're showing up every day or just trying to find ways to not only support your family, but stay in touch with a family member, friend, neighbor, thank you. Thank you so very much. Those small acts now more than ever are making a real difference. I'm grateful for each of you gentlemen. Thank you for your leadership and your work in the community. To everyone, please be safe, stay healthy. We'll talk to you soon. God bless.